welcome back to This Week in Weed. Let's take a look at this week's top stories. A record 50% of Americans now believe that marijuana ought to be legalized for adult use, according to a nationwide Gallup poll of 1,005 adults. The percentage of Americans favoring legalization is up 4% from 2010. It is the highest percentage ever recorded by Gallup, which has tracked public opinion data regarding marijuana policy since 1969. The 2011 survey also marks the first time ever that Gallup has reported more Americans support legalizing cannabis than oppose it, by 50 to 46%. Gallup reported that support for legalizing cannabis was the highest among self-described liberals at 69%, and those between the ages of 18 to 29 years old, 62%. Support was weakest among Republicans at 35%, self-described conservatives at 34%, and those over the age of 65 at 31%. 55% of male respondents said they favored legalization versus only 46% of female respondents. Respondent support for legalization was greatest in the West and Midwest regions of the country and weakest in the South. Since 2005, support for legalization has increased in every demographic polled by Gallup. When Gallup first asked about legalizing marijuana in 1969, 12% of Americans favored it. Support remained in the mid-20s from the late 1970s to the mid-1990s, but has crept up since, passing 30% in 2000 and 40% in 2009, before reaching the 50% level in this year's annual survey, the polling firm stated in a press release. If this current trend on legalizing marijuana continues, pressure may build to bring the nation's laws into compliance with the people's wishes. The California Medical Association, representing over 35,000 physicians nationwide, has called for the legalization and regulation of cannabis for adults, according to a white paper adopted by the group on Friday. The CMA paper, entitled Cannabis and the Regulatory Void, recommends that cannabis be taxed and regulated in a manner similar to alcohol. The paper also calls for the reclassification of cannabis under federal law in order to encourage research lending to responsible regulation. It states, in order to allow for a robust regulatory scheme to be developed, cannabis must be moved out of its current Schedule I status. Rescheduling cannabis will allow for further clinical research to determine the utility and risks of cannabis, which will then shape the national regulatory structure for the substance. The CMA is the largest physician group in California and the first statewide medical association to adopt an official position in favor of legalizing cannabis. In 2009, the CMA adopted a resolution acknowledging that the criminalization of marijuana is a failed public health policy. That was This Week in Weed. Thanks for watching, and tune back in next Thursday for the newest episode.